Another line live. 2 weeks ago, we had Mr. Bailey McKinney on from the Marshall University bass fishing team. He is back. We got JR there in that new HD Mac Pro iMac. They they used to have a boat handle on them because that's how good they were. You could use them for a boat anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we got a short intro here, and after that, we're going to get started. Let's go. That's a life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand. Something you can't feel on dry land. You gotta get your arms way up in a cave and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. You gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loomis rod. I bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck. Give the world. Hello, welcome to my world.
I feel honored. Just want to say
You should. I mean, I spent 45 minutes of my life adding JR to the intro. Now I don't have to worry about him in the private chat over here saying I feel neglected because I'm not in the video intro anymore.
I'm so sensitive,
That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, shoot. Anyway, so guys, welcome to this episode of Honor the Line, all you fishing freaks out there. One day post Christmas 2023. I hope all you fishing freaks out there got what you wanted for Christmas. And more than that, I hope you got to spend times with some loved ones that you still have around, because it is something special to be able to hang out with people like that on those holidays. No matter what you believe in or what religion you are, hopefully you got together with some people this weekend or over the last month and got to enjoy it. So without further ado, we're going to talk about some. Hold on a second. Did you just comment that, JR? When are you guys going fishing next?
that was me.
Gotcha. All right. So 2 weeks ago, we had Bailey McKinney on from the Marshall University fishing team, where he's actually working at the tackle box for the next 2 days, man. It's bittersweet for me because I am going to miss the tackle box, and I think I speak for everybody involved here on this screen, and everybody that I know that frequents the tackle box. It's going to be a giant hole to replace there. One, because it's not the best tackle shop in this area. It's one of the best tackle shops I've ever been in any area. So above and beyond that, Greg and Debbie Drowned are two of the greatest people I've ever met. Again, they've done well by me and have done far beyond whatever I could ever ask for. But as Bailey and I were talking before we got online here just a second ago, the tackle box is open for 2 more days. That's tomorrow and Thursday. And everything right now except for rod and reels are 50% off, guys. I went and bought $270 worth of baits today for half price. It's I was buying frit sides that are $10.99 a piece. It's basically buy one get one free, and it's crazy that there's no way he's making money on that. He's definitely just trying to liquidate what he has. I'll let Bailey talk about it, but there's a ton of frit sides there, more Strike King than you could ever possibly shake a stick at. Bunch of Zoom still left. There's a few Rapala baits, probably a third of the stock that he had in Rapala. Most of those are, they're not picked over, but there's a lot. Over half of them are gone. Yes, Missy just said, are the shirts on sale? The shirts are on sale, but I think they were pretty well obliterated too when I was there. There's a few. But everything is 50% off in the store except for rod and reel. So, Bailey, what all, in your opinion, you're there every day, what's still left that somebody can get their hands on?
So, actually, something that's really surprised me is still there. We still have a decent selection of Contact left. We still have a really good selection of Zoom left. If anybody's ever been to the store, and you guys can speak for this, that Zoom wall is enormous.
Yeah, it's still packed.
Huge.
It's the biggest one I've ever seen, but it's still packed. There's not even a hole in it.
No, like for 6 days, past 6 days, we probably sold well over 1,000 packs of Zoom baits, and it doesn't even look like it's been touched. So,
with good reason, because they're $3.99 a pack normally, so you're getting those things for $1.50 or $2 a pack, which is crazy.
It's cheap. And I want to add something there. You said it was, one of the best stores in just not in our area, but just in general. So our regional manager from Hidden Creek is our distributor. This guy goes everywhere on the East Coast, everywhere from, Fisherman Central up north to Florida. And he called us personally a top 5 store on the Eastern Seaboard. Like that's counting Fisherman Central. That's counting your, bidders tackles down in Florida and stuff like that. We're still a top 5. And that is a huge brag.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I've been in the tackle box, I've been a customer of the tackle box since he was way down on 3rd Street in Ironton, which was like a little bit down from where the Knights of Columbus is there in Ironton. And then he moved down to next to Ming Moon there in Ironton in the Big Lots Plaza. Was there for a lot of years, and that store was packed, and I think he just kind of outgrew it. Or I think, if I remember right, they were talking about selling that building or something, and I think he was kind of forced to move. But he moved up there and bought that shop, and like it was double the size that he had before, maybe even triple the size, and he packed that thing as full as he could get it. And I asked him the other day, I was like, has it hit you yet? He's like, man, I'm just ready to get out of here. He said, because when I walk up and down these aisles, he said, I see these things. He said, they're bare to me. He said, they're still over half of what I had probably. He said, but it just, hurts my feelings. And I'm sure he just doesn't want to look at it anymore. But to his benefit, he is a fishing guy himself. So hopefully once this thing gets shut down and he gets all that stock out of the way, we can maybe get him out there in some tournaments and do some fishing.
Yeah. And that's what he's looking forward to. He's looking forward to time back on the water with you guys and, everybody in the area. So,
yeah, man, that sucks, Corey. I've been seeing you post the ice report and seeing that that you guys are having a rough time. Here in Ohio, we don't get that opportunity. I don't think it's ever got cold enough for me to see ice. I did see the Ohio River almost frozen over one time. That was like 2009, I think. I got pictures of it, which was crazy. It was just big ice chunks all the way across it. You couldn't have walked through it or walk across it. But I'm kind of glad of that, man. We don't get that super cold, hard water season here because it would just be more gear I got to buy to go out there and chase those little, whatever. I mean, they're not little. You can chase bass and stuff, though. I watched several of them, but I haven't watched any recently. I know that he had Randy Blockad on there, I think, last night. I watched a lot of stuff of his stuff. Like there are, I will say, him and Trait, man, they go to the kind of the ends of the earth, finding people that will talk about controversial issues that I think need to be talked about. And Blockad has got to be, right there in the midst of that, because he's like, I guess, probably considered one of the most polarizing anglers that's still alive in fishing, because he's against live scope, and he's, everything that seems like it's big and popular, he has something negative to say about it. So I can imagine what that thing's looking like. But I definitely will check it out probably tomorrow. JR and I are headed to Grayson. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to try to create a game plan to go fish Grayson Lake. Randy needs help.
Needs help. Agreed.
like really needs help? You think he was that far off on that stuff? Probably.
I think Randy needs help in the way of like someone to take care of him.
There you go. Kochobe's only a month away, man. I hope you get on that.
Yeah.
I apologize, Gear. Let me.
So, did you all watch Mercer's podcast with Blockett on it?
No, I didn't.
Did I watch what?
The Mercer's podcast with Randy on it.
No, I did not. The last podcast I've really watched is or listened to. I usually listen to something when I'm fishing or when I'm going fishing. If I'm traveling somewhere, I'll listen to it. But I've been listening to, Zaldane's The Bilge, but the last one I saw or I listened to was on my way home from Cumberland, and I listened to the G-Man podcast that he had there. And then there was the other guy, I can't remember his name now, but the guy that got accused of cheating there on the MLF Pro Tour.
Oh, yeah.
But they do a really good job. And one of them that I thought was really cool is that Trait, and I don't know if they even had anybody on, They were talking about how one sponsor that Chris Zaldane had fired him over something that Trait said. Like, she said something, and I have to go back and find the podcast because it was out there for a while. It still maybe they took it down. I don't know. I doubt it because they were on the fence. It was like, hell, screw them. We don't need them, basically. But they said something. She said something on a podcast before that, and then the next episode, the next week, or after that thing aired, that company called Chris Zaldane, was like, look, dude, she needs to like apologize for this. Like, this is a big deal. She needs to like retract this statement. And I guess Trait gets on the phone and like basically tells them to F you. And then they end up firing the sponsor anyway. It's like, well, we're just best. We just part ways. And Chris and Trait were like, okay, well, whatever. I was like, yeah, Lee.
Yeah, that guy doesn't have any trouble getting sponsors, that's for sure.
No.
If you make big swim baits, you're in.
Yeah. He's a Guggen now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Dude, there's so much.
The Dangerous swim bait. The Guggen Mag Draft, yeah.
So there's so much like stuff going on in the pro world that's crazy right now. I saw that Hank Cherry left Pure Fishing. What's up with that?
Pure Fishing, man. Like, seeing some of the stuff that they do firsthand as far as business decisions go is really odd. Okay. Like, you take a company that's buying up all of these little companies, but they're already bankrupt, right? Last year they bought Plano. Pure Fishing is Plano now. And they're out of money. But that company blows my mind.
It's crazy. So, Mark, I am kind of in both camps here with exactly what you're talking about here. I think that live scope has negative effects. It also has positive effects. The positives would be to catch more fish. That's probably the only positive. Negatively, you're talking about is right. I don't think the crappie population can withstand live scope fishermen that are going out. Like, I know a guy right now. He's been on several pro staffs with me and stuff. He's an amazing crappie fisherman, man. He like dang near wins a national title every year in a crappie circuit. And he's a guide on this lake in Oklahoma. Excuse me. He posts 30 to 60 to 90 crappie a day that he takes guides out catching these big crappie. And I'm not saying that it couldn't happen without live scope, but I'm thinking it definitely does give people an advantage. But, I don't know. Like, it doesn't give me an advantage because I don't have it, but I will have it eventually. But, the bass fishing population, is it hurting it? I'm not so sure. Because it's probably hurting the amount of fish that are being caught. Because, for example, we were talking about it last week. Kyle and I were fishing down at Del Hollow a month ago, and we were catching bass in 80 foot of water in an open cove in this lake. And we would have never, ever, and I could promise you 1,000,000 times over, we would have never, ever been fishing there if it weren't for live scope. We could see the fish and physically watch them bite the bait and catch them. So is it hurting the populations of fish being caught? Probably. Just all depends on what happens with those fish after that. Are they going in a live well? Are they being in there 8 to 10 hours a day? Are they being caught and released? It's hard to say.
I think, and here's just my 2 cents. Like, live scope to somebody that fishes tournaments a lot is just like having a carpenter having a tool belt. You know what I mean? That's just another piece of equipment in their arsenal. Sure, it's going to help you catch more fish, but you don't catch every fish you see or every fish you throw at.
No.
And I think a lot of this goes down to once somebody does catch a fish, like you're talking about, over 80 feet of water, do they have the experience to be able to fizz that fish or take care of it? I think that's the important part of it.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a great point. I'll talk about that in just a second. So, Tony, that's awesome, man. Anytime you can catch any kind of fish on Christmas Eve, that's amazing. But you get out there in the Ohio River and catch 1.5 pounds, that's a good day. So fizzing a fish to me is imperative if you're going to keep it in the live well. But if you catch a healthy fish and drop it back in the water, they should have enough they should have enough strength to get down there and release that air themselves. But I had to do a lot of research thinking, like, does it deflate that thing forever? How long does it take to? But it's from what I understand, it's basically like you giving blood. It heals up within minutes or even seconds, and it inflates back or whatever. So you're right. If you keep one in a live well where it can't go down deep enough, you're definitely going to have to fizz those fish. So if you don't have the equipment and the know-how to do so, it's definitely going to wreck the population, because every fish that you turn loose like that's going to die.
Yeah, I feel like angler fish care is something that's just not talked about enough. And I think it should be something that's brought up more often, especially with wintertime fishing.
Yeah, and wintertime is crazy because they're deeper normally, but excuse me, there's a lot of things that that people in the summertime don't think about either, like keeping ice in your live well and making sure the water is fresh and all that other stuff. And I think with the tournament side of anglers, I think there is there's a lot better knowledge base out there for people to actually do that. And I think there's a lot more people that are taking into consideration the fish on keeping them as healthy as possible. And then, there's two camps. There's people that feel like that you should never keep a bass, and there's people that keep every one of them that catch them, whatever. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, you buy a fishing license for a reason. Like, right now I got like 8 different state fishing licenses this season. And I've literally only kept 90 fish this whole entire year. And that was at Lake Erie in one trip. And they were walleye. So it's just kind of is what it is. But, I don't think live scope, it's not going to go anywhere. All these companies are making billions of dollars. The only thing it's going to do is get better and better. We're just going to have to, as anglers and as people that are, in the world of fishing, we have to become these wildlife biologists and try to figure out how to sustain the population.
Yeah, it's up to us. End all be all. It's our responsibility. It's our game. It's our sport that we all love. And why would we not do everything in our power to keep it that way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. Strick, I'm with you there. Thousands and thousands of crappie. You're probably right, man. Like, I'm not a crappie fisherman. Me and Kyle went out to Yatesville the other day, and one thing I will tell you, I know why bass are tough to catch there, because we caught over 100 crappie in one day, but they were all like bite size for a big bass. I mean, they were stacked everywhere. We caught a pile of them. Biggest one was like 6 inches long. The rest of them were really small. So you're probably right. I did see, not anything that's based here close to us, but I did see down like North Carolina there around Jordan, Lake Jordan, and those other lakes there. What is that? Sharon Harris, and those big time lakes have been down there for years. They just started stocking F1s in that lake, or those lakes. So they were already stocked with some giant bass anyway. You put some F1s in that pond and let them start interbreeding with those, those other native fish there could be a world record caught out of there.
Mm-hmm. There's already giants down there, like you said.
Yeah, the crappie have a really fast reproductive cycle too. So I wouldn't really worry too much about those populations.
Yeah, crappie reproduce like crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a big thing about ponds. I'm interested in putting a pond on my land eventually, and the more and more I research it, they say, well, don't put crappie because they will reproduce so fast that it'll pretty much steal out every other type of fish you put in there, because there'll be so many crappie.
And Strickland's right about that. If you have a forage that are small like that and fish can eat them, they're going to do so. And if you make that population get bigger, where fish are going to have to eat bigger baits to stay alive, not because they don't eat enough, it's just that that's all available there. It's going to make those fish grow, double the amount, it seems like.
Greenbow.
Yeah. Trout.
Yeah, they have trout. That's pretty much it, isn't it? Maybe some bluegill.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to me that it's December 27th tomorrow. JR and I are heading out to do some fishing, and I think we should have a discussion about what we throw out there. And I agree, Strick. Numbers don't necessarily mean good. You're right. Let's see here. You know, and again, like, I think that one thing that I think comes out of this positively is that you see big people in the industry taking notice of this, and they're putting the time and effort into trying to figure out if that happens. For example, just like Ben Milliken, dude's got millions of followers on every social media platform he has, just made the elites, does a lot with trying to debunk myths and stuff like this. He's kind of like the opposite of Randy Blaukat. But you know, it takes these people like BASS. We had Ronnie Moore on there a month ago, and he said that BASS has an actual like 5 or 6 person committee that's just based on looking at the stats for live scope fisheries, and trying to figure out if their live scope or the use of live scope in these tournaments are hurting the population in any way. And I really don't, if you're talking about tournaments like that you can only keep 5 at a time and they're weighing them in or whatever, like that's no different than going out and catching 5 fish without live scope. What I'm talking about is like if I'm going out and crappie fishing and I'm around a stump or whatever, I don't know that there's fish there. I might catch 8 or 10 of them. Or with live scope, I know they're at 14 foot and there's 72 of them down there, and I can just wait till they eat it and set the hook. It does give you a benefit, and I straddle the fence because if I had it, I would use it, and I eventually will have it. I'm just hoping that Humminbird comes out with I was hoping around Christmas here they'd come out with a version 2 of their Mega Live, because I want to stay strictly Humminbird stuff. First off, it would be a lot cheaper on me. We're looking at about $3,800 for a 12 Garmin and LSV 34. So I would, $1,500 for a live scope or for a Mega Live. If it was halfway decent, I could do that. It would definitely save me, $1,500 or more. But it's just, I'm kind of torn in between. I just now bought a new trolling motor. I have an Ultrex Quest. So it's, there's bass fishing is expensive, boys.
Somebody that we could talk about, there's one fella from around Paintsville that does a lot of, talking about stewardship of our fisheries and things like that. He is a big proponent of introducing a F1 Florida bass from around here. So, I mean, I would love to have bigger bass around here. So, I don't really understand the negative effect of us having those. So it'd be nice to have somebody with a pro and somebody with a con to kind of make sense of it all.
Yeah, and that's what I think we should do around here as a group of fishermen. Is the only lake that I could see doing it around here on and being successful, that we could probably get them to do it in, would be something like Lake Vesuvius, right? It's an Ohio-based lake, so I'm the only one from Ohio, but I know a lot of people from Ohio, and that's another thing. JR lives, in Kentucky, and I think Bailey, you're living in West Virginia, aren't you?
Yeah.
So there's just a group. I would be willing to find out if we could get the DNR in one of these states, whether that be somewhere in Ohio, Yatesville, Grayson, Beach Fork, somewhere, if they would give us the opportunity to put F1 bass in a lake, we could get enough anglers together to buy a couple 100,000 bass, right? And put them in there and just see what happens. But the problem is with a big lake like Beach Fork, if it decimates the population, that's quite a big lake there. Whereas like Vesuvius, you could put, a couple 100,000 regular bass in there and restock the population if it did decimate it.
I will say, so I actually got to talk to the guy you're talking about, JR, from Paintsville. He used to come in quite a bit, and they ended up finding some genetics from F1 bass in Paintsville Lake.
Yeah.
So they had them there prior. And the main argument you'll hear from the DNRs and the government of all 3 of our states really is we have too cold of a climate, when in reality, look at how similar our climate is to a place like Chickamauga.
Yeah, so I don't think it gets any more cold down there or here than it does up there. You know, and that's the simple fact is finding a lake deep enough to sustain them. Like Grayson, dude, it's 70 foot in some places, especially there in or 60 foot, right there in like what I call the gauntlet in between those bluff walls there. It's super deep. So you know, you get down deep enough, the water doesn't get any colder than it would be anywhere else. They're just gonna have to find shelter. But you know, I think the deal is that I've yet to see any place, especially in Ohio. I can only speak for Ohio because that's where most of my money goes for taxpayers or tax money and all that other stuff. I've never seen them stock a sport fish in any pond or any lake other than trout. And you know as well as I do that every trout that they turn loose either gets caught to eat, which is great. And if it doesn't get caught to eat, it gets either ate by fish, which is even better. And third, they all just die off. Like they don't sustain in these lakes. That's why they have to keep, you know, they're putting these things in there for people to catch and eat. I would much rather them put a food truck out there with like trout fillets out there, and you know, it does help out the fish population. Like Vesuvius, man, has had some freaking hammer fish caught out of there, and you can't tell me it's not because they're putting trout in there. Trout eating bass get freaking big,
huge. Yeah, I can't see, especially West Virginia DNR. I just can't see them dumping the amount of money into our area for stuff like that.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if it's a money issue, I get it. Like, if they don't want to spend taxpayer money on something that's could be for nothing, I get it. Like, let us do like a GoFundMe or something, you know, and have some people. I guarantee you, if we said we wanted to raise $10,000 to buy F1 bass, we could get that donated in a weekend.
Oh yeah.
You know? So yeah, so like it's just one of those things where like I think that's something we need to look at. Like, and Mark, as Mark said here, you know, F1s are showing out in Chick, that's for sure. I feel like that the population at Chick is actually kind of dwindling now, probably for the amount of pressure that's got in the last 10 years. I didn't even know Lake Chickamauga existed 10 years ago. And then the pros started going down there and showing out what kind of fishery it was. And then I've been down there several times myself. I haven't caught any hammers, but I've seen a lot of people catch them. I've seen several 9s and 10s caught out of there. So that they definitely do have an effect. You know, so those are eating fish except for muskie. Like, I don't understand why they stock muskie. I know it's a sport fish and a fish of 10,000 casts or whatever, but it seems like muskie would have a more negative effect on a population of fishing than some F1 bass.
We did this little, like, not really, I guess you can't really call it a study, but we did this thing where we sat down and figured out how much it costs or how much money a tournament bass angler will bring into a city in a weekend. Right. So you're thinking hotel, food, gas, ramp fees if you have it, or anything, so be it. Right. And you compare that to the guy that shows up and bank fishes for muskie for a day and then goes home. Why would you not spend money on the resources that are bringing you money in like that every weekend and go out and spend money on things that are going to bring you drops in the bucket comparison?
Yeah. You're right. Is this the guy you're talking about, Jason Kenner?
Yeah, that's his name.
So, yeah, that's the deal. Like, first off, somebody added shad to Yatesville. It might have been this guy. But in the shad population in Yatesville is freaking booming right now, man. I saw so many shad there the other day. I think I could have walked all the way across them without getting my feet wet. I mean, they're turning, and bigger bass are being caught out of Yatesville. Like, and it's all about sustainability and how we can prepare for tomorrow. You know, you have to start today to prepare for tomorrow. And I don't have kids, but somebody took me fishing when I was a kid, and somebody's going to take somebody else fishing when they're a kid. You know, and I keep a rod that I built with a Shimano reel in my boat all the time. My goal is that there's been several times where I've rolled up to a boat ramp and there's been a kid there, you know, fishing with some kind of just beat up old crappy rod that doesn't hardly cast, and you know, got their mom there who probably doesn't know much about fishing. You know, I'm stereotyping there, but my goal is to keep these things in my boats. I've been building these spinning rods for, you know, pennies on the dollar. I got about $50 in the whole rig. I'm going to start giving them away to people. But that's what it takes about slot lakes, man. I think that they're okay as long as they manage the slot well. Like, I mean, if you look at Dale Hollow's got a weird slot limit. They're smallmouth bass. You can keep smallmouth bass from like, what is it, like
14 and
12 to 14 and 7/8, and then 18 and over. So an 18-inch smallmouth, like, it's 5 pounds probably, 4.5 pounds.
They got to be 21.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is 21 inches. Yeah. So those fish are like, I was thinking of Cumberland. Cumberland's 18, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 21 inches. That's a 5-pound fish. So my thoughts on that is that people, if you catch those big fish and you take another thing they do in that slot limit, I really like, is that you can only have one fish over that 21-inch slot limit. Or is it 2? It's 2, isn't it?
One per person.
Oh, that's where I got the 2.
Data with slot limits, I mean, it works. You're protecting those, middle size that are growing and reproducing, whereas you're killing off some of the smaller ones. I mean, in theory, it makes sense, and it's obviously worked for a lot of these big fisheries.
Yeah, and I've also said that I think that some place like Grayson, where we're going tomorrow fishing, I think it would do it well to have a slot limit, just for the simple fact that some of those smaller fish that are sub 12-inch fish, getting those out of the population, I think, is better for, as Strick pointed out a while ago, it's all about the forage that you have for bass to eat and the population or the competition of that forage. So if you have, these small bass, and you guys know as well as I do, small bass, man, if you throw, I don't care what you throw at them, if you see them, they will try to eat whatever you throw at them. I don't care if it's 14 degrees or 140. They will eat anything. And I think that comes to the situation where, a big school of minnows comes by and they eat, they're just keep picking these things off. It's probably making more competition for the bigger fish who are going to be, deeper, and they're probably going to be less active and all that other stuff. So I think getting some of those smaller fish out then boosts the population. I think that they should do like almost kind of like a cave run deal, where they have 10 to 12 inches being as part of the slot, and then you have to keep them 15 or over, and just kind of give that, that population. And I don't think it should be like that forever. I think 5 years and see what happens. I don't know. What do you think, Bailey?
Erie's just got so many fish, it blows my mind. Like, I don't think that you could positively or negatively impact the fishery of Lake Erie.
Yeah, so one of the craziest things to me is that if you look at Lake St. Clair, which obviously feeds Lake Erie, it comes out of it comes out of St. Clair River from I always get this wrong.
Is it Huron?
Huron, I think. Comes out of Huron and then comes, I think it's Huron. Comes out of Huron down the St. Clair River, hits Lake St. Clair, goes to the Detroit River and into Lake Erie. If you look at Lake St. Clair, it's nothing but a big bowl. It's kind of like, it's like the perfect spawning ground for any kind of bass, because it's like the deepest it is like 40 foot deep, and that's in the shipping channel. And other than that, it's like 15 foot deep all the way to the bank. And then, it's just a big flat bowl. But their stuff that they do, especially in smallmouth, you can't keep a smallmouth. It's catch and immediately release, no matter when it is, all the way up until like the first week of June. I think that's actually, I'm laying. It's like a third week in June. You can't keep them. You can't fillet them. You can't do anything with them. And if you go to the Canadian side during that time, you're not even supposed to target those fish. You're not even supposed to be out there with a bass rod, with a bass bait, trying to catch a muskie. You can still get fined doing that.
I would agree with Weaver on this one, because like trying to mentally prepare for a tournament on Dale Hollow where you're chasing smallmouth, it's like beating your head against a wall. And I'm sure there's somebody in the comments that knows what I'm talking about, and you guys do too. But like, if I was going to tournament fish down there and it wasn't a smallmouth tournament, I'm going after green ones.
Yeah, so no, that was when I had a tournament down there a month ago for the KBN Team Trail State Championship. That was Kyle and I's whole deal. We weren't even going to try to target smallmouth. We figured 5 greenfish would win the tournament every day, and it would have. We just found them too late. And, if you catch 4 of those, 15 to 18-inch largemouth that weigh 2 pounds, and you luck into a 22-inch smallmouth that weighs 6 pounds, your bag's going to look pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Strick. Erie is perfect, but I tell you what, I like Erie a ton, but still Lake St. Clair is my favorite place to fish on the planet. I hate making those 10-mile runs out in the lake to catch smallmouth when I can go 100 yards off the bank at St. Clair and catch them. You're probably going to catch bigger ones at Lake Erie more consistently, but man, if you go up there and catch 100 a day on Lake St. Clair, it's tough to beat.
Yeah, I love St. Clair.
All right, we're going to let's make a game plan here. Going to Grayson Lake. I wonder if I can see. Can you see the Grayson water temperature from the
has it, yeah.
For the that's the Army Corps of Engineers, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
Trying to see. Last time I was out there, the water temperature was 43 degrees, and that was last week. Right now I'm looking on Grayson Lake on the it's saying the outflow temperature right now, and you guys can't see this, but it's saying the outflow temperature right now is 45.9 degrees. So that would be down by Deer Creek by the main ramp, 45. I was up in Bruin Creek the other day when I saw it. It's 43. 44 was the highest I saw it. Looks like that it's got as of 8:30 this evening, the inflow is 52.36 cubic feet per second, and the outflow is 45.9. So they're still holding this. I'm sorry, I'm lying to you. So it's the outflow is 10.49 outflow cubic feet per second. So it's definitely going to be on the rise. You got to figure it went. It's rained for the last few days. Probably going to rain tomorrow. Corey Weaver here said jig, rock crawler, A-rig, rattle trap. That's pretty good deal there. I think you got to throw in a jerk bait there at some point. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just I can't fish. But a rock crawler freaking gets hung up more than any crankbait I've ever seen in my life. It's like it just gets freaking wedged. I don't know what it is for me, but I've lost so many of those daggone things.
They hang up. They hang up really bad.
If you're not digging, you're not diving, though. You know what I mean? It's probably my fault from throwing those things in like 6 foot of water and just getting hung up. But I like the rock crawlers. I really do. The red bug collar is really good. I like the pink one, actually. It's pretty good, too. It's for smallmouth. I don't know what it is about smallmouth and pink, but, man, they freaking chew it.
They have a color out now. It's it reminds me of the demon color from Rapala.
Yes.
I can't think of the name of it. Somebody I'm sure will tell me, but yes, the silver buddy.
Those are the 2 things I have most prevalent in my tackle box to go tomorrow, for sure.
It'd be electric.
I know that you guys were talking about there catching sauger and stuff on those blade baits like that, and your boy was telling me that you guys are ripping those baits. Is that how you're catching bass on those things, or are you reeling them like a crankbait? Because personally, I've never had a ton of luck with them.
Yo-yo.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Me and JR were too quick on the trigger. A-rig, Shad Rap, finesse jig, 4-inch TRD, in the deal collar, and a blade bait. So that's one thing I'm going to have to get my hands on, and I might it's probably all the stuff's probably gone to tackle box as far as what I need. I need an A-rig rod. I know that they have that. He's got that 7.6 extra heavy Poison Adrena up there. It would probably work pretty well for it, but I just have a hard time spending all that money for something that you really don't need a ton of sensitivity for. But at a 40% off cost, you're kind of stupid not to get something high end like that. You could always use it for a frog rod or flipping and pitching or whatever.
Dude, I've been throwing mine on a 7.5 heavy Zodius, and like that thing is killer for an A-rig.
So 7.5 heavy. I had that rod for a while to throw jigs on, and I liked it a lot. I ended up selling it because I got an NRX Plus 894 for that. Man, BFS stuff is awesome. The new Corrado BFS is freaking stellar. One thing that I will tell you, and I don't know about the Corrado, I think the Corrado is the one I'm talking about, but they're all an 8-gear ratio on as far as the reels. I think that hurts them a lot. I think it would be perfect for a small spinnerbait, a fluke, something that you could flip it in pitching, even maybe a small topwater or something that you could throw around. But it kills me that every one of those things are in an 8-gear ratio. You pretty much have to flip and pitch with them unless you can slow down, and I cannot do that. I have to freaking, I buy more often than not 6-gear ratios because I freaking crank the heck out of a reel if I'm moving a bait. So it would be tough for me. The sensitivity has got to be unmatched because those rods and those reels are absolutely freaking, they're nothing. They weigh nothing. They even have on the Shimano side of it the exciting drag sound. But I think, I just think if they would have to be a 6 or a 7 before I could get into them, I think I think they have a place, but like flipping and pitching docks and stuff like that around here would probably work, but we just don't have any docks to flip, and that 8-gear ratio kills it for me.
That was our biggest complaint from our customer base. Was like if they wanted a reel to throw like that Shimano crankbait, the little 1/8-ounce crankbait.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, they missed the mark. If they didn't release that reel with a 6.4 or a 6.2 option,
right.
I just think they missed an opportunity. I agree with you.
Right. So I think that's the deal. Like I think and if they come back out with a 6 or a 7, I think a 7's even too fast, but I could deal with a 7. And it's not like an 8 point. It's not like 8-1 to 1. It's like 8-4 or 8-5 to 1.
Now, all right, mark the words today, December 26th. If they come out with a 6-gear ratio Corrado BFS, Tyler Waller's name has to be behind
it. They won't do that, I promise. But Casey said, "What's your first thoughts on Cave Run last year?" So my first time ever going to Cave Run last year, the water was like in the trees. It was like 15 foot above summer pool. I caught one fish. It was 10.5 inches long. And that was my day. Wasn't too impressed with it. Went back there this past summer and fished the Lewis County Lunkers tournament there again. And end up scratching together a limit. And last time, if somebody had a limit, they would have won, no doubt. I had a limit of just absolute hog bellies, and I thought I was going to win, and I got smoked. My 5 fish weighed in at under 2 pounds. And that's a true story. There's a video about it. I think it was under 3. I think it was just over 2 pounds for 5 fish. So I just had some absolute hammers. I was going in there thinking that I was just going to have to they were going to have to go out back and get more money to pay me because I was just going to take everybody's money. And then I got freaking smoked because one guy caught an overfish and it beat everybody.
I feel like that's a lake that has to, it would be so good because it's a huge lake and it's not that far from here. And it's one that
has a lot of muskie.
Everybody talking about other than muskie.
It's got a giant population of muskie. So is that hurting the bass population? You have to say that. Yes, I am saying Corrado. It is a Shimano Corrado BFS bait finesse system.
With
710 heavy on the A rig with a Corrado 300. I had the 300, man, and I just couldn't dig it. I sold it. I had it on a 7.5 heavy SLX, and I know that rod's a little heavier, but that 300, man, you have to be a man to throw that thing all day. It's big. So, Philip, more man than I am, bud.
I like the Tranks better. It's just easy.
Tranks 150 is freaking phenomenal.
Yeah. So much torque per turn. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's a great reel.
Let's see. Lose Custom Light Shallow Spool. Yeah, so I think that's kind of a Lose attempt at a BFS reel, if I'm not mistaken, I think. Or maybe they had it out and Shimano's trying to copy them. I'm not sure. I can't speak to that. But, you can look at if you're looking at a BFS system reel, man, I would tell you to look at the Corrado 70 series. The size is roughly the same. You're going to get triple the line capacity. The only thing you're not going to get is that exciting drag sound. I mean, if that's a deal breaker for you. But I will say though, the Corrado 70, JR and I had a conversation about it today. They don't make that in a 6-gear ratio. It's only 70. It's only 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Did they quit making the 6?
They never had one in the 70 Corrado.
The SLX 6.
It was HG and XG in the 70s. I own both of the two HGs for small crankbaits. I just bought a new Shimano Poison Adrena 610 medium glass rod from the tackle box the other day. Bought a I have a Chronarch MGL in the 6-gear ratio on that thing for small crankbaits. Bought that at Border Sporting Goods because Greg was flat out of every reel that I ever wanted. Hey Fred, what's up, buddy? 7173. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty good idea. Now, here's the deal. We're talking about going to Grayson tomorrow. We've thrown out some baits. Do you feel like collar makes a giant difference in cold weather? Like, for example, for me, if you look at, I swear I think if you're throwing like a flat-sided crankbait and it's not like some like crazy chartreuse collar, you got a pretty good chance of getting bit on it all the time. There's something about a black and blue jig in the cold weather months. Like, what differentiates collar? Like, I know the water clarity, we get that, but I would say it's been raining a few days, but I would say that Grayson is going to be fairly clear. I would say 4 foot of visibility or more tomorrow. What makes darker collars more valuable in the wintertime? I don't know.
I know that there's a lot of guys that have the school of thought on matte finishes on their baits, where you throw something that doesn't have any shine to it. And I can't remember the exact thought process behind it, but I heard some people talking about it. Like, they'll take a crankbait out of the package and take real fine sandpaper and grind some of the clear coat down. Just wintertime.
I mean, those I picked up some today at the tackle box, but those Fritside 5 Juniors, the clicking ones, that brown crawl or whatever is matte.
Yeah, that's a sweet looking collar too.
Yeah, I agree with that. Silver Shimano Siticas, man, I tell you what, for the money, it's hard to beat those reels. There's just so many good reels. Like, if you're looking for a budget friendly reel that I don't think you're going to go wrong with. If you're looking for something in the DC range, an SLX DC is a phenomenal reel for the price. But if you don't want to get into that DC thing, the SLX XT is a pretty daggone phenomenal reel for what it is. You get an external brake adjustment on there. It's a little bit bigger of a reel, get a little bit more line. And I don't know what are they, sub 120 or something?
130.
So, everybody, the Corrado, the reason that it is what it is that back in the day, those old green Corrados that everybody still was after, they had like brass gears in them and things. So you're getting all that technology in a more advanced way in the SLX series. Now you're getting way better technology in the Corrado, and you're paying a lot more money for it. Like JR and I were talking about, the 70 series is $49 more than the regular Corrado. It's $249 as opposed to $209. So, it's just the more you can spend, the better technology you're going to get. But don't, overlook the Shimano SLX. I think the SLX, I like the XTs more than I regularly like the SLX.
Yeah,
for the simple fact that you have that external brake adjustment on that XT, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of change baits and work on the fly.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 70. But I've got 6 XTs, and I think I've got like 5 70s now in the SLXs. And the only difference that you're not getting between the two is the micro module gears.
Yeah.
Don't listen to Casey.
3XD and Delta Crawl. Delta Crawl, isn't that the red one?
Mm-hmm.
Red and black.
So that's, I don't know, man. I'm opposite. Like I crank the heck out of things. So I gotta like I'd be probably better off putting smaller reels. Casey says that he can't hide money there, Bailey.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Philip says he normally throws a black and blue jig with a striking Rage Menace and green pumpkin with a tiny bit of orange on the tips in cold water and do well with big fish. That's the thing. Like I do think that trailers make a big difference on what you catch and how big the fish are. I've been throwing a lot of stuff. Obviously, we're kind of affiliated here now with Picasso Baits. But you don't have to take that for what it is. They have some of the best baits on the planet. They have a little spotty that I've been throwing a lot. We talked about it a little bit last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. But Dan Vesuvio, which we're going to have on the show here soon, the owner of Picasso, made a really cool thing the other day about cutting down a baby brush hog and where the two flaps are like mid of that body, using that for like crawfish appendages, and it looked really good. But another bait that I feel like that you owe it to yourself to check out that's kind of in that finesse jig world is the Blue Rock Custom Tackle Triple Threat jig. They're just good baits, man. I got 100 of them in my boat. I do fish them. I think that they both have a place. It's kind of like a Ned head with a skirt on it that's hand tied with some copper wire. It's a really good bait. I was pairing that thing with the Paca Slim net bait trailer. I was cutting it halfway down, and JR and I were out at Grayson.
It was January.
I guess it was about this time of year last year. Yeah. Water temperature was sub 45 degrees. It was it was low 40s, and I caught some fish on that jig. So
yeah, we got a spot tomorrow, by the way.
What is it?
We got to go to that spot tomorrow, by the way.
No, we're not going down that way, bro. We're going up the creek. We're going up the river. I've fished down the river for a while now. 3 times I've been out there and I caught one fish on a Fritside 5 biggin and KY Blue. That was the biggest one, about 2 pounds.
Yeah, there's a lot of people talk about. Yeah, here's Corey saying it too. Less movement in cold water because everything slows down, and then there's a lot of good stuff on the color of the crawfish. More of that muted, black, dark colored in winter. And then, when they're molting, that's a big part of why we use a lot of red baits in spring, things like that. But there are some really nice, charts on that I've seen in the past. I think I've screenshotted, I don't know how many in my photos.
Yeah, so Mark, the Paca Slims are not hollow body. I think NetBait does have a bigger style crawl that has like a tube style body. But the Paca Slims are all solid. They're really tiny, where like the torso and abdomen would be, and then they kind of break out into the actual crawfish right where their head would be. And it's a really good bait for, getting that less. In my opinion, the research I've done, which is limited, the best thing for bait or for trailers in this area, kind of like or this time of year, what Corey was talking about, is just something that doesn't have a ton of movement. Something that the trailer is there, giving a little bit more girth and a little bit more, body style. But it's just like G-Man said in a video, it's like why the flat-sided cranks work so well this time of year is that they're just like, if you're not throwing like 1.5 or something that's really like going crazy under the water, if you throw, a goldfish in a 40-degree pond, that joker is not going to be rushing to get away. It's going to try to figure out what's going on. So, you just kind of got to match the hatch, in my opinion. But that was something that I learned from that post of Dan Vesuvio the other day, too, and it makes sense.
Yeah, less is more in cold water.
Right. So, I don't know. It's one of those deals. One of those deals. Guys, we're about at that 55-minute mark. We like to keep everything under an hour. So, I appreciate you guys coming around. Drop some comments here for Bailey here. We're going to go out tomorrow. JR and I are going to go to Grayson. It's supposed to be 50 degrees. It's going to rain in the morning and kind of clear up about 9 o'clock. So that's probably when we're going to go out. We're not going to go out there and kind of really kill it, but we're going to go try to catch one. You guys will see the video after that. We'll kind of use your techniques, and you guys will see this video between now and then. I do want you guys to understand that I know you guys said that it was okay and you guys kind of dug it. But YouTube shorts on my channel are here to stay. They are absolutely blowing my channel up. It's like, it's almost like AMC to the moon. It's crazy. 21,500 views in the last 7 days. And that's more than the last like 3 or 4 months combined. Over 100 subscribers. It was crazy. So the only thing that I could, I'll apologize for all the notifications you're going to get. I'm going to be posting a short every day for the next however long I can keep doing it. And they're just fishing videos. There'll be tip videos. I'll also be producing long style or long, I guess longer videos that shows me fishing and stuff. But in the wintertime, it's really tough to get out, especially that's why we're going out tomorrow, because I don't feel like there's going to be many more opportunities. But Bailey and I are going to try to get out between now and the 3rd when I go back to work, and you'll see that video too. So we're going to go try to catch them, and you guys will see it, and I will let you guys know how we do. So I appreciate you guys sticking around, and Bailey for coming out and hanging out with us. You guys have 2 more days to go out and see Bailey's wonderful, loving face at the tackle box.
One of the is me using sunglasses. So yes, there is a blooper there.
There is a blooper as a short. Yeah, JR swatted some Costas off his head, and it was too cold to go swimming, and it was like he was like, and there they went. It was like, it's over. Nothing you can do about it. Just watch them float her down. Like somebody even posted on that. It's like, wow. So, but like, it's crazy. Those YouTube shorts. Like, I just don't know if people like have switched over. Like, I didn't know it was such a big deal. Like, I know TikTok is huge for that 1 minute. Well, I mean, TikTok, you can post 10-minute videos if you have enough followers, but the 3 minute, it's 1 minute tops on YouTube shorts. And like, it is like, I don't know if it's like, is there a YouTube shorts app? I know you can get it on the YouTube thing and then go to the shorts, but for 23,000 people to see my stuff in the last week, there has to be something going on.
It's a revolution.
Yeah, you're viral, bro.
Yeah, so like this one remarks, all right, like guy drove by me. So you guys know what I'm talking about. These guys probably don't, but you know where I think it's Little Gimlet comes out there. That stretch of water right there in Grayson is like 100 yards wide. It's not that wide, and I'm on the last 25 yards of it on the shallower side. The channel's behind me. There's 75 yards of water behind me. I'm standing on the front of my boat with a 7.5 foot rod pointing out with line coming off my rod, pointing at the smaller section of the lake. My boat's pointed that way, and I had 2 freaking guys in the same day cut me off there. One guy ran so close he cut my line, and I was throwing a Carolina rig with fluorocarbon, so it was already sunk, and he was close enough to me where it hadn't sunk yet and cut my line. And then there was another guy done the same thing, but I've been cut off there more than anything. Like, I don't understand what it is. Like I feel like when I hear a boat coming, I'm just going to freaking have to hammer down and just put my trolling motor on high and get so close to the bank that they can't run me over. It's nuts.
But anyway, so they're getting all the live scopers.
I reckon. I don't know. It was they were going by and marking my spot, I guess, trying to get rid of my fish. Little did they know there was no fish there.
And now they have line in their bro.
Yeah, got him. But anyway, thank you guys for joining this episode of On Another Line. Thank you, Bailey, for coming out and hang out with us. You have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come on and hang out with us, you definitely let me know. We'll get it happen. Another thing, if any of you guys out there would like to be a part of this show, we are willing to have you on. This is a family-oriented show, no cussing and going crazy like that. If you think you can handle yourself doing that, then we'd love to have you on, talk some fishing. So if that's the deal, shoot me a message. We'll get you on here. But without further ado, unless you guys have anything else, I think that's going to wrap it up for this evening. All right. So, guys, I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. We're going to go out and try to catch them at Grayson tomorrow. You guys will see whether we do or not on a YouTube video very soon between now and Friday. Tackle box the next 2 days, 50% off. I don't imagine the sale is going to get any better. In the next 2 days, it's going to be 50% off. And if you're asking what happens to the stock after those 2 days, the way I understand it is they're going to start setting up at some of these things like Marshall University. When's your show?
January 13th at Spring Valley High School.
January 13th, Spring Valley High School, places like that. They're going to take a bunch of stuff, set it up there. Probably still going to be 50% off there. He's not giving this stuff away. That's his retirement money. So probably still 50% off. You're not going to get it any cheaper. There's going to be a bunch of stock. They're going to set up at a few of these local places and try to sell it. And then there is word, depending on what has been sold there, sometime in January, cracking the doors back open of the Tackle Box and having like an open house deal for a weekend, still 50% off, but it was like a last ditch effort to sell what's left. So
yeah, if that happens, it'll be like a cash only type deal. And we're shooting for around the same time of the open house, so like mid-February. But yeah, stay tuned, follow the Facebook, and I'll keep that updated and have you guys posted. So
yeah, cool, man. Mark, those Reapers are bad to the bone. I will own some more. They are awesome. But yeah, I wish somebody in our area carried them because I'd buy one tomorrow. I have one that says Picasso, and every video I've shot in the last 6 months has had me wearing it because it's just so nice.
Yeah, I think one of those was actually supposed to be for me, Mark. So you can
deliver that thing. But anyway, guys, maybe I'll see you guys at the Tackle Box. I'm going to go up there on Thursday and hang out, probably the second half of the day. And I'm going to have Bailey sign my hats for me. That way I can yeah, dude, I'm in, man. Shoot me a message. I'm in there like swimwear. I'd love to be on a show. So it's all good, man. Either shoot me a message here on Facebook or, JR and I hop on one or the other and talk some fishing with you. We'd love to.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, guys, it's about that hour mark. So we'll see you at the Tackle Box in the next 2 days. If I don't see you then, we'll see you on the water very soon. And you know what the deal is. If you guys can, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on Another Line.